President Akufo-Addo charges African continent to do away with dependency mindset.
Uneasy calm returns to Nkuranza as police officers leave township.
Former Chief Executive of Public Procurement Authority and his brother-in-law charged with 18 counts of offences in contracts for sales scandal.
And Mozambique detects first wild polio case in 30 years.
Good evening, welcome to News Hour Live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. My name is Micheline Taka.
I am Rahmatu Mahmoud Jawando. We have Jonathan in team to translate the news into sign language. Good evening.
The special prosecutor has charged the former chief executive of the Public Procurement Authority, Mr. Ejenim Boateng Ejei, and his brother-in-law, Francis Kwekwahin, with 18 counts of offences relating to their roles in the contracts for sales scandal. Mr. A.B. Ejei has been charged with 8 counts of using public office for profit and 9 counts of directly and indirectly influencing the procurement process to obtain an unfair advantage in the award of a procurement contract.
A statement issued by the Office of the Special Prosecutor said Mr. Francis Kwekwahin has also been charged with 1 count of using public office for profit. The statement added that the 2 persons will be arraigned before the High Court, Accra, on Wednesday, 25th May 2022. Meanwhile, reports indicate that the dismissed Public Procurement Authority boss has alleged withdraw all funds from his frozen bank account. It is still a developing story, and we will bring you more in our subsequent bulletins.
President Akufo-Addo says the significant effects of the COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war has brought into sharp focus the slogan Africa Beyond Aid and Intra-Regional Trade. Addressing the Academy of African Business and Development Conference in Accra, President Akufo-Addo said the continent must do away with its dependency mindset and rather engage with other countries competitively through trade and investment while developing intra-African trade to transform the continent.
Aid to developing countries, especially Africa, is gradually dwindling. However, Africa has been and continues to rely on international aid for its development. Though the volume of international aid received may be relatively on the low compared to its total annual expenditure, foreign aid is still one of the key sources of funding for development in Africa. President Akufo-Addo in 2017 proposed a Ghana Beyond Aid vision, urging the creation of a Ghana that is beyond dependence on the charity of others to take care of her people, but rather engages with other countries competitively through trade and investment for her development. The 4-day conference will focus on challenges that confront the African Beyond Aid vision and draft proposals on how to achieve that goal. The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Professor Abednego Amate, who hosts the conference, lauded the self-dependence of the university and said Africa Beyond Aid is achievable.
Africa Beyond Aid should not be a rhetoric. It should hold the promise of a qualitative and quantitative leap into our endeavor to fight poverty, raise living standards, and claim back our dignity as African people.
The Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Osei-Duchum, said building educated people will make the country achieve the desired development. The President, Nana Akufo-Addo, said the impact of COVID-19 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine is necessitating beyond aid.
The consequences of these developments are being felt the world over. Fuel, food, and logistics prices and global supply chains currently bear the brunt, accentuating Africa's paramount need to intensify our internal collaboration and cooperation in the areas of trade, markets, resources, and populations.
President Akufo-Addo outlined some key issues the conference must engage on.
Articulating policies that will help strengthen African financial institutions like the African Development Bank, Afro-Exim Bank, and the Africa Finance Corporation to enable them to take over greater responsibility for the financing of Africa's development. D, advocating for debt cancellation for African countries to provide a sound foundation for our future progress. E, proposing measures to help increase significantly our capacity for domestic revenue mobilization, re-evaluating the role of foreign credit rating agencies, which act as gatekeepers to global capital markets, and their modus operandi, including the fixing of the so-called Africa risk premium. G, examining the measures available to us to check the illicit outflow of capital from the continent, which is currently estimated at $100 billion per year.
The Academy honored President Akufo-Addo with his highest award, the Lifetime Achievement Award, for his role in development, the establishment of AFCTA and the hosting of the Secretariat in Accra.
There is uneasy calm at Nkranza of the Bono East region following a violent clash between the police and youth of the area on Tuesday. Late afternoon on Wednesday, police officers stationed at the Nkranza South Municipal Command were seen leaving the township after a crunch meeting chaired by the Director General in charge of operations of the Ghana Police Service, COP Christian Tete Yohanu.
The youth in the area alleged their colleague Albert Donko has been unjustifiably killed by the police and are not giving the family any details about where their relative could be. The youth alleged that 5 personnel of the Ghana Police Service at about 1 a.m. on April 5, 2022, while the suspect was asleep, surrounded their house and picked him from his room with other items and sent him to the Nkranza Divisional Police Command on suspicion of being part of a robbery gang. Meanwhile, the mother of 19-year-old Victor Owusu, killed in Tuesday's clash between police and youth of Nkranza, wants justice. Victor, a final year student of the Nkranza Technical Institute, was shot in the head when the youth were rioting in protest at the alleged killing of Albert Akwesi Donko. An anguished mother of Victor, who last saw his son before he left for school on Tuesday, has accused the police of wrongfully killing her son. Madame Yakwa, a trader in the Nkranza market, said her son was not one of the protesters. Some police officers who are stationed at the Nkranza Municipal Police Command were seen leaving after a crunch meeting chaired by the Director General of Police Administration in charge of operations, COP Christian Tete Yohanu, told GBC News off camera that they had received a directive from above to leave the area immediately. All efforts by GBC News to get some information about the meeting between the police delegation from Accra and the opinion leaders in the area were not successful. The Ghana Police Service says peace, law and order have been restored at Nkranza after an altercation between some residents and the police, and residents are going about their socio-economic activities without fear or hindrance. A statement issued by the Police Public Affairs Directorate says it is firmly in control
of the situation and satisfied with the strategic operational contingency plan and the general deployment in handling the situation. According to the statement, a report from medical officers at St. Theresa's Hospital, where persons affected by the attacks are receiving treatment, indicates that 2 additional injured persons have been identified, bringing the total number of affected persons to 8. Out of the number, 1 person died while receiving treatment and 2 have been treated and discharged. The remaining 5 are still on admission. Earlier on Wednesday, a high-profile team led by the Director General, Administration and Commissioner of Police arrived at Nkranza on the instruction of the Inspector General of Police to provide strategic leadership for the ongoing operations. The statement avers that through an intelligence-led operation, one murder suspect who was among those who escaped from lawful custody has been rearrested. It further says 3 additional persons have been arrested in connection with the disturbances, bringing the total number of arrested persons to 5. Our Bono East regional correspondent Samuel Ayama was at a news conference and is on the phone line to give us an update. Hello, good evening, Samuel.
Good evening.
What were the highlights of this conference?
The press conference has just ended here. It was addressed by the Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, Superintendent Alexander Kwaku Obeng. He has just confirmed the press statement that is released concerning the number of casualties, those charged and those who are still receiving treatment at the hospital. So that is the information we have from there. And again, we've just had information again that the municipal or the Nkranza township here, they have 57 police officers and they have withdrawn all. We are told they have asked them to leave to Techimai and then wait for some final decision by the police top hierarchy, whether they are bringing new police officers to replace them or they are just bringing them back again to continue their work here in the Nkranza township. But as we speak, everything is calm here in the township. I'm still in the police are here in their numbers. They've increased the number of police personnel in the municipality since yesterday till date. And then those that came from Accra to complement those here, and those also came from the regional capital. They are also still around here. But those who are officially stationed here, 57 of them, they've asked them to leave the town They asked them to leave the town. So as we speak, they are currently at Techimai and then waiting for the IGP or the top hierarchy of the Ghana Police Service to come out with a final decision. So we are monitoring the whole situation, and then we'll keep our viewers updated on happenings here in Nkranza.
Samuel, before you go, why did they ask the 54 to leave? Do we know why?
Come again.
Do we know why the 54 policemen were asked to leave?
Yeah, they were asked to leave because of the disturbances yesterday, because the police station here was attacked by the youth. When you go there, you realize that the electricity connected to the facility was tampered with, and then the vehicles, the police patrol vehicles here, where they had their windscreens smashed here. And again, they said some of them are renting in the township. So if they continue to live among the residents or the youth who are seriously angry as we speak, there will be some retaliations or some issues, because the information we are picking on the ground is that those people that led the police from Accra or from the regional capital to pick up Albert on the night of 25th are friends to Albert himself and friends to some of the guys, the young guys around in this township. So based on this, they realize that no, if they allow the police to still be here and live with the youth who are currently not at peace with them, there will be some kind of escalation.
Thank you very much, Samuel Ayama. Samuel Ayama is our Bono East regional correspondent. He was at a news conference by the police at Nkranza on the rioting that happened earlier in the day. 24 civil society organizations on extractive, anti-corruption and good governance have called for a national debate before reintroducing the Ejapa deal. This follows renewed conversations about the controversial deal as the finance minister hinted the government's plan to reintroduce the deal. The president of Imani Africa, Mr. Franklin Kudjo, said the CSOs would pursue legal action against the government if the deal is pushed without recourse to due process. He spoke to GBC News.
You cannot be basically mortgaging significant mineral resources, gold resources of this country for pittance. If you're looking for $500 million, $700 million, and then in exchange, if a lot of a significant amount of reserves in exchange for the value of 500 million or 700 million, we are saying that you could have gotten that money even if it didn't touch all these resources from the royalties that are coming from the existing mines to the tune of almost $450 million in 2 years. So why mortgage something in perpetuity, which has significant value, estimated to be almost $3 billion at least for this? That's the argument. That's the major argument around valuation that we've been making.
The council. Wednesday, a delegation from the Council of Inner City Tribal Chiefs and Queen Mothers interacted with management of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation on the need to make Ghanaian culture more visible and to foster unity among the chiefs and people of Ghana. The council also formally introduced itself to GBC's management. The Council of Inner City Tribal Chiefs and Queen Mothers is partnering the Center for National Culture through the National Commission on Culture to amplify the culture and traditions of the indigenous Ghanaian people. The 22-member team says the Council's plan is to educate and encourage the youth to become advocates in developing the indigenous tribal cultures and traditions which are from our various communities.
Council seeks to endeavor to educate, to eradicate or minimize the incidence of broken homes, child and drug abuse, oppression and suppression of their rights, of the rights of the indigenous women in the society. The Inner City Tribal Chiefs and Queen Mothers will show interest in fostering religious tolerance in the country.
GBC's Director of Legal Services, Mr. Kwame Waja, urged the Council to bring on board programs on culture and values for Ghanaian youth to appreciate its culture and traditions better. The Director General of GBC commended the Council on its initiative to promote peace and security among the indigenes and pledged to offer the platform to educate Ghanaians on our culture and traditions.
The formation of the Council is a very important contribution to our national development, because what you have demonstrated is to tell us that despite the diversity of inner cities, we have come together to form a forum where we can celebrate our diversity. Much as we celebrate the diversity of inner cities, we also know very well that there are a lot of child delinquency issues there. There's the issue of sanitation. There's the issue of drainage problems. We should help to focus on these issues.
The president of the council, Chief Dr. Mohammed Suntaba, said parents have an important role in teaching their children their mother tongue as well as traditions in their formative years. This will help raise a well-cultured generation. The Council of Inner City Tribal Chiefs and Queen Mothers was inaugurated 2 years ago. For GBC News, Yaira reporting.
Today on Anthropology, we are looking at abolo. Abolo is a gluten-free, sweet and slightly sour steamed dumpling. Indigenous to the people of the Volta region, abolo is always in sight whenever you travel along at Timpoku Road and on the Adome Bridge, the suspended bridge that passes over the Volta Lake, the world's largest man-made lake located in the eastern region. Abolo is ground, soaked corn flour that is steamed on leaves. It is best enjoyed with freshly ground pepper and fried tiny white baize known as 1,000. Carefully pay attention as Auntie Lizzie Ahaji of popular Abolo Bridge Junction takes us through these simple steps of preparing the ever tasty abolo on Chopology. It's fairly simple, just follow the steps at home.
Simple as the abolo recipe looks, Auntie Lizzie says it takes 2 days to prepare authentic abolo. Let's get started by first knowing the ingredients for this sweet sponge-like dumpling popularly called abolo. The main ingredients, of course, maize or corn. You also need wheat flour, baking powder, yeast and sugar, which is optional. Remove any bad grain, garden debris and stones from maize. Wash in clean water and drain water. Take to the mill and grind into small grits. Wash grits in clean water to further remove chaff. Leave for about an hour for the maize to dry a bit. Mill again, but this time into a fine, smooth texture.
I have measured the quantity I need, that is 12 American tins of corn flour. When the water boils, I will prepare the porridge.
Boil water and use 2/3 of the flour to prepare a thick porridge. You can use an industrial hand mixer when preparing in a large quantity. Continuously mix well to avoid lumps. When the content is partially cooked, fetch in bits into a basin. You know your dough is ready if it does not stick onto the plate used to fetch and does not easily dissolve in water when a bit is dropped into it. Sparingly spread out the dough in the basin to help it cool faster. When the dough cools, add the remaining portion of the corn flour, about 2 teaspoons of baking soda and a little bit of wheat flour to the content. Auntie Lizzie says she uses only baking powder to prepare her abolo as yeast is optional. With an electric hand mixer, mix very well till the content becomes a quite fluffy but stiff paste. The dough is left to rise overnight. Get your steamer ready. Fetch in bits onto the abolo which have been pre-cleaned. Arrange in a steamer and steam for some minutes over boiling water. Remove from steamer when ready and serve with your desired sauce, stew or soup with fried fish. Abolo pairs pretty well with freshly ground pepper or shito and fried tiny white baits known as 1,000. You can also knock it out with some fried shrimps and you will ask for more. Note, one abolo is not enough to fill a stomach.
Tension is simmering between grain traders in the northern region and the National Cargo Association over the latter's proposed increase in charges for a bag of grains transported from the northern region to destinations down south. The association says their demand is informed by fuel price hikes, which has eroded their earnings. On Tuesday, members of the Cargo Transport Association marched to the Aboabo market to stop private vehicles from loading goods.
National Cargo Transport Association in the northern region have grounded their vehicles in protest over the unwillingness of grain dealers to pay the new charges. The association has proposed to raise the charge on a bag of grains from 29 to 40 cedis. The Northern Regional Secretary to the Ghana National Cargo Transport Association, Mr. Khalid Majid, said they are unable to break even with current charges.
Frankly speaking, our cars cannot be packed. They need to also work because they pay insurance, they pay the metro assembly, and they pay a lot of things to the government. So why should a single person deny all these cars to work?
Traders say they are equally challenged and that any increment in charges will greatly affect their business. Some of the market women who spoke off camera revealed that they have resorted to private vehicles to transport their goods to Accra and other destinations. This development has not gone down with the Transport Association and have threatened to prevent all vehicles from loading goods in the region.
Now what we want to do is that we want the good people of Ghana to know what is happening in Tamale, and from here we are marching to Aboabo market, and we will make sure that any car that is in the market to pick any luggage, even one bag, we will make sure we stop the car.
A significant quantity of grains used in Accra comes from the northern region. There are fears that if the situation is not brought under control, it will affect the business and impact on prices of food in Accra.
A three-man team has been constituted to mediate and find an amicable solution among parties involved in the Bulgaria embassy's demolition impasse as per the recommendations of the sole enquirer. At a meeting with the sector minister, Mr. Samuel Jinapo, the ambassador of Bulgaria to Ghana, Mr. Yanko Jordanov, said though his outfit was not notified about any of the happenings, he believes the current tension must not mar the strong relations between the two countries. Clara Mlano reports.
Relations built on all fronts between Ghana and Bulgaria were almost fractured as a result of the demolition of Bulgaria's embassy in Ghana. A move by a private developer to own the said piece of land without due process and pulling down existing buildings on the premises is the roots of the tension. Though all developments have ceased and a sole enquirer commission to look into the matter has presented its report, the matter is yet to be brought to finality.
When these kinds of matters arise, what is important is that we cut third parties out of it. Take third parties out of it, because people will intervene for their own parochial, personal interests, sometimes even political interests. And I think that the strong bond of friendship and relation between the government and peoples of Ghana and Bulgaria should be way above that.
The ambassador of Bulgaria to Ghana thanked the president and the sector minister for the swift intervention and clear the country of any wrongdoing.
Bulgaria understands the situation, and we know that it's not Ghana behind this. Those are some few individuals who wanted throughout the years consistently to undermine this friendship that existed and that is still alive. And I'm so thankful to each and every Ghanaian that those few individuals didn't succeed.
Finding an amicable solution to the matter was one of the recommendations of the sole enquirer. A deputy minister for lands and natural resources in charge of forestry, Mr. Benito Uwusubio, a rep from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the technical director at the Ministry of Lands, Mr. Maxwell Edun Safwa, are on the team. For GBC News, Clara Mlano reporting.
You're watching GBC News, your news and governance channel. We're live on Ghana Television. We're also streaming live via Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We'll be back shortly with business.
This segment is brought to you by KillNet. Good evening and welcome. I am Dorothy Ajamai. With moderate growth and inflation more than twice the Bank of Ghana's target, anything short of raising the benchmark interest rate would be surprising. Surgent prices are posing a challenge to the central bank, which prefers to have its policy rate above inflation. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee has begun its quarterly meeting today to deploy tools at its disposal to control inflation.
At its last meeting, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana raised the benchmark rate to a 3-year high, which is 17%, pushing its key lending rate above headline inflation. But surging prices have since pushed inflation to 18-year high of 23.6%, far above the rate that caused the last interest rate hike. Investors have been witnessing negative real returns as inflation hovers above the policy rate and 91-day Treasury bill of 17.43%. With its objective of price stability, market analysts anticipate the central bank to further raise the policy rate. The Institute of Economic Affairs projects a 200 basis point increase in the policy rate to 19%. In a bid to mop up excess liquidity, has cut expenditure to support the central bank's historic policy rate hikes to ease inflationary pressures. While it may help to tame inflation, a further increase in lending rate will increase the cost of borrowing that's crowding out the private sector and slows growth. But the central bank projects inflation will start tapering off for the rest of the year as the shocks stem from supply pressures.
I earlier asked GBC News business editor if the Bank of Ghana can afford not to hike the benchmark interest rate as the Monetary Policy Committee meets. Edward Nyako had this to say.
Really, in a sense that if you look at the source of our inflation, we have some that we import. That is, we do import a lot of commodities in the country, an import-driven economy. And so if we've seen fuel price going up on the international market, which is now around $111 per barrel, and then seen food prices are going up, automatically it will feed into our inflation basket. And then if we go to our part of the world, locally too, this is a season that in the Twi language say Kitaunsa, the season for planting. So normally supply of food onto the market is very low, and when it happens like that, the demand is still there, is very high. So the likelihood that the MPC is going to hike inflation is there, in the sense that the basic function of the central bank is to make sure that it ensures price stability. So the central bank is going to look at where we are now with 17% policy rate, and it's likely to go up. Some are saying it's going to go by 19% as predicted by IEA. Some too are saying 20%, but I will stay in the middle. I will say that, look here, there's a likelihood that the central bank might do 18.5%.
The producer price inflation rate for April 2022 was 31.2%. This means between April 2021 and April 2022, the PPI increased by 31.2%. This rate represents a 1.9 percentage point increase in producer inflation relative to the rate recorded in March 2022, which was 29.3%. According to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobna Enim, the month-on-month change in the producer price index between March 2022 and April 2022 was 1.1%. The manufacturing subsector recorded the highest monthly inflation rate of 1.6%, followed by the mining and quarrying subsector recording a rate of 0.4%. The utility subsector recorded no inflation in the month of April. The producer price index PPI measures an average change over time in the prices received by domestic producers for the production of goods and services. You're still watching the business segment of the news. From the interbank markets, let's have the performance of the cedi and some commodity prices. Don't go away.
Good evening, you're welcome to the Energy segment with me, Mabel Anang. To our first story, the Chamber of Independent Power Producers says the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, owes the IPPs about $900 million in power supply invoices, excluding other legitimate claims. IPPs are concerned about ECG writing off more than 600 million cedis in debt owed by its customers when it is indebted to power producers. Chief Executive of the IPP's Chamber, Dr. Elikplim Apetogbo, said ECG should focus on retrieving the difficult debt.
The arrears accumulated between 2021 and this year, according to the Chamber of Independent Power Producers, Distributors and Bulk Consumers, are causing IPPs to record huge forest and interest losses. Dr. Apetogbo is blaming the debts on ECG's inability to collect revenue from the electricity it sells to its customers. He said the debts had dropped considerably to about $400 million at a certain point last year, but has suddenly jumped to $900 million. He warned that if the debts are not settled urgently, the arrears could pile up to substantial levels. IPP's Chamber CEO, Dr. Apetogbo, was also worried about ECG writing off more than 600 million cedis debts owed by its customers.
ECG is a highly indebted institution. I revealed that as at the end of the last quarter, that is ending of April, ECG is owing the IPPs about $900 million. And I read an article from Energy News Africa that ECG has written off debt worth over 600 million Ghana cedis. To me, it is a wrong decision because we cannot be in such an indebted state and be cancelling debt. ECG, as the one holding the sector, we expect them to be very rigorous in their revenue collection to make sure that they pursue every last password, no matter how difficult it is. They must be very persuasive and do more to collect. Everybody was impressed about what they were doing, disconnecting institution here and there. So we expect them to even individuals and not to be cancelling debt. It's a very bad signal.
It's good. It is a possibility.
Now, government is currently implementing a new policy to ensure the direct delivery of petroleum products to the country's ports without relying on bulk oil distributors. The policy is to ensure fuel availability for the next 3 months.
The policy, which differs from the previous arrangement where bulk oil distribution companies, BDCs, dealt directly with international oil companies, is meant to prevent any fuel shortage in the wake of the Russian-Ukraine war, which has disrupted global supply of crude oil. Last week, there were reported cases of shortage of fuel at some fuel service stations, which the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, denied. Head of Economic Regulation at NPA, Mr. Abbas Tasumi, said the policy will last at least for the next 3 months. He spoke to GBC News.
The Minister of Energy directed that there should be a new strategy where we granted a temporary waiver to these international oil trading companies to discharge the products into tanks, into storage themselves, so that they can sell to the BDCs from the storage instead of the BDCs placing the orders before they come and deliver at the shore for the BDCs to take delivery and then take them to storage. So this arrangement has been done, has been agreed by them. It was agreed to start from this month. Some of them have started already delivering in tank and selling to BDCs from in tank. But the major IOC system will start from June to deliver in tank and sell to them. But then the agreement has already been reached. And this is a way to ensure that we have products in the country because they have the product in bulk and they guaranteed what our need as a country is. So this has been done for the next 3 months. And whilst we monitor the situation on the global scene, if things don't normalize, it's likely it can be extended.
This is how we wrap up on this segment with Mabel Anang. Up next.
The cost of sanitary towels has gone up in recent times. This means that a girl or woman anywhere in Ghana who desires to use clean sanitary pads, she will spend at least 8 Ghana cedis at that time of the month. Some find it ironic that while taxes on condoms remain low or virtually non-existent, sanitary pads, which are a basic requirement of woman's biological anatomy are not affordable to many girls who need it. In this report, GBC News puts the spotlight on fears that the rising cost of sanitary pads could roll back the gains made in women's reproductive health over the years.
Some point in an adolescent girl's life, she most likely will start her menstrual period, the normal vaginal bleeding that occurs as part of a woman's monthly cycle, marks the beginning of the reproductive age. Time was that when this happened, girls and women had to resort to the use of materials like washable pieces of cloth, which was found to be unhygienic. Over time, the use of sanitary towels like pads and tampons became widely accepted in medical circles as the most hygienic methods. Some years back, the price of a sanitary pad was 6 cedis, but has seen a huge rise after government placed a 20% tax on this basic necessity. This keeps girls at a disadvantage in terms of education when they are young and prevents their mobility and productivity as women.
Pad any tax in because
globally, 1.8 billion women of reproductive age menstruate every month. Unfortunately, about 500 million women and girls lack access to menstrual hygiene facilities, including safe and clean menstrual management materials. Promoting optimal hygiene during menstruation is crucial for the prevention of menstrual-related infections. Another problem to contend with is the lack of clean and healthy sanitation such as toilets and running water, which means that girls often do not have anywhere to change or dispose of pads safely and in privacy at school. Also, the taboo nature of menstruation prevents girls and their communities from talking about and addressing the problem. A large part of this problem is raising awareness and education to eliminate the stigma of menstruation. And Madam Elizabeth Barnes explained why the sudden increase in the price of sanitary towels.
First we sell it 7 cedis, but now they sell it to us 8 cedis, 50%, so we sell it 10 cedis.
The big question is, how can an average girl who is less privileged and cannot afford this due to the drastic increase survive?
That's all in this segment, brought to you by kind courtesy Lufard.